Hi guys, this is your boy Delungza. I am back again. So yeah, a couple of days ago, I ate something that unfortunately gave me an allergic reaction. So as you can see, some of the spots and the rash in my face, but glory to God, I'm on the road to recovery. Today, I want to talk about an interesting subject. And the subject for this episode is living in the moment. Recently, I came across a post by Nadim Goma, she's a musician, she's also an actor, and as well, she's also married to the sensational musician Zex Bandwini. I think in her post, she was basically advising young people to people she was specifically talking to people who are between the ages of 18 and 25, whereby she's telling them don't take anything for granted, don't waste your time in partying and making reckless decisions. That period in your life is very critical, because if you don't make the right decisions there, you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you are 30 years old and you've got nothing to show for it. And interesting enough, a lot of people just went on to attack her and telling her, yeah, you're talking from a point of privilege. You don't know some of the things. Hey, life is tough for people. Blah, 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 blah. And it's quite interesting that I captured that particular post, because I myself I'm turning 30 this year in a couple of weeks. And it kind of so I'm assuming that those are the people who are probably my peers, who are just in their early 30s and probably might be dealing with a lot of situations, and they were probably lashing out at her. But unfortunately, one of the things that just actually came up in my spirit, is the concept of understanding moments in your life. That each and every stage has its own significance, and each and every moment in your life has its own purpose. Many of us, we seem not to live in the moment. We seem not to be relevant to the situation and the season that we're in. We seem not to be fully aware of where we are, and we often make decisions that contradict what we're supposed to be doing at a specific time. And then sometimes when the ramifications or the consequences of those things catch up with us, we normally cry foul. It is indeed, in fact, that there is this natural thing that growing up does to an individual. The more you grow up, the more you are confronted by your mortality as an individual. That's where you begin to realize that as time goes on, I'm actually a step closer to the grave. You can imagine someone who's in their 60s, 70s. That's where you're literally looking at your funeral in the face. But what is more important is we've always centered our lives based on outcomes. We measure our lives with the outcomes and the things that we have achieved, and the things that we have done, and the things that we have, and the things that we can touch. But at the end of the day, the interesting thing is that on your last day on earth, it doesn't matter whether you have a car, you have R1,000,000 in your account, or you live in Sentin, you live in a shack. What matters is that everything that you have, you're going to leave it behind. What matters is the quality of life and how you feel about yourself, how you've conducted your life and how you've set rules for yourself and how you've pursued and put in an effort to try and achieve something, because sometimes in life the effort will not meet the outcome. But what matters is that the more you put the outcome, the more you put an effort into something, the more you are able to grow. It is very important that we do not get attached to things. We do not get attached to things to determine our self-worth as individuals. I think in the Black community, many of us, we've attached our value to things. That is why it's very important that we spend most of our lives in getting those things. And when you get those things, you are met with the harsh reality that those things are not the most important thing in your life. The most important thing in your life, it's your personal journey. The most important thing in your life is how you transform your life from one point to another, irrespective of how little that particular progress is, but it's something that is worth celebrating. It is very important that you learn to be comfortable with yourself and be more comfortable with your journey as an individual. And the more I grow up, the more I begin to learn that principle that unfortunately, as you navigate your life, you navigate it as an individual. Most of the time when we are growing up, we mostly we think as a collective. We try to fit in within a specific group. We try to do all of those things. But the older you get, the more you begin to realize that actually you are walking this journey alone, and it is very important that you become comfortable with yourself. It is very, when I say live in the moment, I'm talking about putting an effort, putting enough strength and effort in making sure that you're comfortable with yourself, that you're able to reconcile yourself, you're able to reconcile your emotions, that you're able to reconcile your relationship with yourself, that you're able to develop yourself, you're able to encourage yourself, and you're able to forgive yourself where it's necessary. We spend a lot of time trying to fix our relationships with people, family, friends, and etc., but we don't do that thing on our personal lives. Many of us, we are living lives of disappointment, and we've been disappointed with certain things that happen in our lives, but we haven't really given ourselves the time to forgive ourselves and move to the next level, because we keep on wanting to get stuck in moments that have passed. You want to live in a specific moment that has passed in your life. What we normally do naturally is we often look at a period in time whereby we were happy and we want to go back to it. One of the things over the years I learned about midlife crisis, when I talk about midlife crisis, I'm even talking about these sugar daddies. A lot of people, contrary to popular belief, it's not really about sex and all of those things. But what happens in their minds, the reason why some of these men go for young girls and they want to party, is whenever they are confronted by their mortality, because when you're confronted by your mortality, it automatically forces you to go and self-introspect. And many a times when we self-introspect, when we start to look deep within ourselves, when we start evaluating ourselves, when we start really looking at our own behaviors, sometimes we are often shocked by some of the things that we find, as to say, how can I waste so much time in that? How can I waste so much money in this? How can I waste so much emotions on this particular issue? And sometimes then when you are confronted by the harsh reality of some of the decisions that you have made, it becomes unbearable it becomes unbearable for you to face them. It becomes unbearable for you to process them. It becomes unbearable for you to deal with them. So what we often do, we often avoid that situation, and we want to focus on moments in our lives that made sense, moments in our lives where we were happy. We want to go back to that situation, but we don't understand that that moment has passed. You need to move on from whatever has happened and start living in the current moment, because self-evaluation and self-introspection is just a tool to make sure that you don't repeat the same mistake. Because when you hold yourself accountable, you have nowhere to escape. It's easy to debate an external relationship, because you can easily attribute the blame to the next person. But when you are confronted with the reality that, let me self-introspect, let me be able to track down every step that I've taken and begin to ask critical questions. Was this the right decision for me to do that? Was it the right decision for me to have a child at 19? Was it the right decision for me to drop out of school? What is it the right decision for me to do this and do that? Was it the right decision? And when you are honest with yourself, and then go through a process of forgiveness if that is necessary, or a process of healing if that is necessary, you therefore release yourself of the previous stage. Don't find yourself living in moments that have passed, but always learn to let go of those moments and live in the current moment, so that you can be able to restore your life. One thing I've always learned is that as long as you are not 6 feet underground, you can still change your life. You see, people who can't do anything physically about their lives are people that are in the grave. You see, that person, they physically can't do anything in this world, in this realm. As African people, Gary, we believe that our loved ones, they live on the other side. But I'm talking about in this realm, in this side of the world, there's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do. But as long as you are still breathing, as long as you are still alive, there's nothing stopping you to change your life. Learn to forgive yourself and let go of moments that has passed, because some of us, we get caught up in this concept of saying that by this time I should be here, by that time that I should be here. But sometimes those things do not happen, and you need to let go of that and stop trying to use that as a point of reference, as to say, if I'd done that I would be here, if I'd done that I would be here, would have done that I would be here. What matters is that the moment that you are in today is a moment that you're gonna look at 10 years from now. So for example, you could be 35, you could be 40 years old, and your life is not where you want it to be. You can either lament the 40 years that you've lost, or you can start making a changing your decisions, so that at least when you get to 50, you can sing and speak a different language. It is never too late to change your life. But what is important, you have to live in the moment and let go of the moment that have passed. That is a very important thing. Reconcile with yourself. Reconcile with who you are. Reconcile and make peace with yourself, so that you can be able to move forward. Forgive yourself, and you will see that your life will change for the better.